What if the woman who left you, lied to you, or broke you, never consciously meant to? What if her betrayal wasn't premeditated, but pre-programmed? That's not an excuse. It's a deeper kind of danger. Because when Sigmund Freud dove into the female psyche, what he uncovered was a realm of unconscious motives, unseen, unchosen, and terrifyingly consistent. And here's the part nobody wants to admit. She may not even know why she did it, but her biology does. Let's begin with the illusion every man is sold, that women are just like us, that their words line up with their actions. That's what she says she wants. Loyalty, honesty, kindness is what she's wired to seek. But Freud's greatest controversy wasn't about dreams or even sex. It was about free will, or more precisely, its absence. In one of his most unsettling assertions, Freud argued that nearly all human behavior stems not from conscious choice, but from the unconscious, the part of the mind we don't see but that sees us. And in women, Freud believed, this unconscious realm holds even more sway. In his 1925 work on the psychical effects of sex differences, Freud noted something radical. The female superego, or moral conscience, forms differently than in men. Men tend to internalize guilt. Women, on the other hand, internalize shame. What's the difference? Guilt comes from breaking your code. Shame comes from being seen breaking society's code. It's not about doing wrong. It's about being caught. That changes everything. Because if a woman's psychological compass is oriented toward external judgment rather than internal integrity, her choices won't always be about what's right. They'll be about what looks right. Now apply this to relationships. A man might stay loyal because he believes in loyalty. A woman might appear loyal because it's socially rewarded. However, if the internal compass is governed by adaptation, then once conditions shift, such as the introduction of new friends, a different environment, or even a hormonal change, her behavior might shift accordingly. Not because she's lying, because she's surviving. One of the most overlooked insights Freud made came from the infamous case of Anna O., a patient originally treated by his mentor, Joseph Breuer. Anna was a young woman experiencing what appeared to be hysteria, paralysis, hallucinations, mood swings. Breuer treated her with hypnosis and helped her recover repressed memories. But the moment she improved, she turned on him, accusing him of impregnating her, a lie so severe that it nearly destroyed his reputation. What Freud later realized was that this wasn't malicious. It was instinct. Anna's psyche wasn't healing. It was reorienting. The female unconscious, he believed, could bend truth to emotional necessity, not in a calculated, villainous way, but in a reflexive, survival-driven one. What felt real to her became real. This wasn't deceit. It was hysteria's twisted gift, emotional reality rewriting actual events. This is what Freud meant by the mother complex, that most men are not truly choosing partners. They're unconsciously choosing replacements, reliving the emotional blueprint formed by their mothers. If your mother punished you with silence, rewarded obedience, or made affection feel conditional, then chances are, as a man, you've confused emotional manipulation with love. You're not attracted to her kindness. You're attracted to her power to hurt you because it feels familiar. And yet here's the brutal twist. It's not just men reenacting the past. Women do it too. Only theirs is often deeper, darker, and biologically driven. Ever been on a perfect date? Everything clicks. Chemistry, laughter, eye contact. She's into you. Then a few days later, nothing. Silence. Disinterest. Sorry, I just don't feel it anymore. You're left wondering what you did wrong. Freud might say, nothing. It wasn't your actions. It was her unconscious. See, the female psyche doesn't function on logic the way the male one often does. It's cyclical, hormonal, responsive to forces beneath awareness. Modern science backs what Freud suspected all along. Female behavior is modulated by phases. During ovulation, women are drawn to strength, dominance, and adventure. During menstruation, they retreat, critical, defensive, withdrawn, and they don't know why. That's the trap. Ask her what changed, and she'll give you a story. We're not compatible, or I realized I need time alone. But in truth, her biology vetoed you. In ancient Sparta, Men avoided sleeping with their wives during menstruation, not out of disgust, but respect for danger. A bleeding woman, they believed, was a volatile one, not by choice, but by design. This brings us to Freud's most painful observation. No woman loves unconditionally. Even the best mother, he said, harbors unconscious resentment. Why? Because the son will leave her. That's the original heartbreak of the female mind. And it shapes how women approach all future bonds. Deep down, they expect loss, so they preempt it. A girl learns early that affection is a currency, not a gift. And that survival depends on extracting value before the departure comes. So, when a woman suddenly falls out of love after 10 stable years, what changed? Maybe nothing on the surface. But deep inside, her unconscious reached the threshold. She got what she came for. Kids, stability, resources. Now her instinct doesn't want loyalty. It wants novelty. What about the girlfriend who picks fights over nothing, who tests you with emotional traps? That's not immaturity, it's biology running diagnostic tests. Is he strong? Will he hold the frame? If not, she pulls away. Not because she's cruel, but because her instincts whisper, this one can't protect us. In Civilization and Its Discontents, Freud claimed women are not loyal to ideals. They're loyal to survival. Men build, women evaluate. And the moment a man becomes predictable, emotionally available, or dependent, he signals weakness. Not in her conscious mind, but in the deeper place. The place that remembers caves, predators, and scarcity. Every man knows this pattern. Stage 1. Idealization. She's radiant, attentive, reflecting yourself to yourself like a mirror. You feel chosen. Stage 2. Testing. She withdraws, picks fights, gauges your strength. Stage 3. Discard. The warmth fades. Her gaze is distant. You're too good for me, she says. But that's not true. You were too easy. This is not random. It's not evil. It's instinct. Freud didn't hate women. He tried to understand them. What he found was a mirror. But it didn't reflect logic. It reflected longing, shame, and ancient survival. And most terrifying of all, it reflected men's blindness to it. You meet a woman. She says all the right things. She's spiritual, intellectual, loyal. I'm not like the others, she tells you. And you believe her. Until the moment she looks at you, not with anger, but with nothing. No spark, no affection, just absence. You wonder what you did. You think it's your fault, but it's not. It's that you broke Freud's first rule. Never assume she's in control of her desires. Modern culture insists women are free from their biology. Freud would smirk. He knew better. In Beyond the Pleasure Principle, he made it clear, our actions aren't guided by what we say we want. They're guided by what we are. And what we are is ancient. So what happens when a woman who says she wants stability finds herself longing for chaos? There's a certain kind of heartbreak that doesn't make sense, not even to the woman who causes it. She'll tell you she doesn't know why she lost interest. Why did she sabotage a good relationship? Why did she walk away from a man who gave her everything? And you'll be tempted to believe her. But Freud would warn you. Her confusion is not a mystery. It's a mask. Let's return to one of Freud's most haunting cases, the woman known as Dora. 18 years old, depressed, suffering from nervous tics and unexplained coughing fits. Her father, it turned out, was having an affair with a married woman, and to keep the peace, he tried to distract suspicion by offering Dora's presence to the woman's husband, as if she were a token to be traded. But here's what matters. Dora didn't rage at her father. She didn't confront the man who used her. She redirected her fury at Freud, abruptly quitting therapy, accusing him of failure, and then returning years later, not for help but to mock his methods. This wasn't irony. It was evidence. Freud realized Dora's unconscious couldn't punish the source of the betrayal, so it punished the closest safe target. And for many women, that's the man who loves them. Think about that. When a woman lashes out, pulls away, or turns cold, not because of what you did, but because of what she can't express elsewhere, she's not being emotional. She's being efficient. The unconscious mind will always release tension. The question is where? Now let's complicate the picture with biology. Modern research has finally confirmed what Freud could only theorize. A woman's emotional state, and even her personality, shifts throughout her menstrual cycle. During ovulation, attraction to dominant masculine traits spikes. During menstruation, emotional sensitivity and irritability increase. But here's the catch. She's not aware it's happening. So when she pulls away after a perfect week, it isn't a lie. It's a new emotional weather system moving through her mind, and she'll create a story to explain it. We're not vibing. I need space. You've changed. But the truth is, her body changed. In ancient Sparta, men weren't even allowed to sleep with their wives during menstruation. Not out of disrespect, but because they understood that biology is not just physical, it's psychological. And managing a woman's psyche meant knowing when her instincts were no longer aligned with reason. This is what Freud meant when he said love, for women, is always conditional. Not in the cold, calculating sense, but in the biological sense. Even the most devoted mother, he noted, unconsciously resents her son because he's destined to leave. And that resentment, it doesn't vanish. It mutates. It shapes how she bonds, trusts, and eventually disconnects. Now take that to adulthood. A woman learns that love is temporary, that closeness is followed by loss. So what does she do? She optimizes. She learns to extract emotional and material value early. Get the attention, get the resources, get the validation, then move. The wife who falls out of love after 10 years? Her unconscious isn't betraying you. It's fulfilling its arc. You provided the security, the children, the home. Now her inner biology whispers, we've got what we need. Next. And here's the hard truth. Even the fights are tests. When she criticizes you, nags you, or withholds affection, it's not always about what you did. It's her unconscious probing for strength. Are you solid? Are you grounded? Or will you bend to her emotion? Fail that test, and her instincts label you weak, not safe, not dominant, not desirable. In Freud's Civilization and its Discontents, he argued that women are not inherently enemies of civilization, but they don't naturally align with its principles. Because civilization requires stability, structure, and suppression of instinct. And female biology doesn't prioritize structure, it prioritizes adaptation. Let's get practical. Every man has lived this cycle. Step 1, idealization. She makes you feel like the chosen one. She mirrors your passions, celebrates your presence. You feel seen. Step 2, devaluation. It starts small. A little sarcasm, a delay in response, less touch, more critique. You think something's wrong, so you lean in harder. You show love. You reassure. But that's the trap, because step 3 is the discard. The warmth is gone. She's polite but cold. She says, it's not you. It's me. But it is you. Because you failed to do the one thing her unconscious craves. Lead through the storm. You became emotionally available, predictable. You obeyed her words instead of interpreting her instincts. And in doing so, you killed desire. Let's take this deeper. Freud documented a woman who claimed to despise traditional gender roles, a sharp academic mind, fiercely independent. She married a man who was everything she claimed to want. Kind, supportive, and respectful. But she didn't love him. She couldn't, because her unconscious wasn't moved. Instead, she had an affair. Not with a peer, but with a man who ignored her, interrupted her, and canceled on her without apology. And when Freud confronted her, she collapsed. I hate that I want him, but I do. That's not hypocrisy. That's instinct winning over ideology. No amount of intellect erases 1,000,000 years of evolution. The mind may say one thing, but the body knows what it craves. Dominance, uncertainty, power. Freud's most explosive idea? Women don't have one sexual identity. They have two. One, the Madonna, the nurturing, socially acceptable self, the one who smiles, commits, and conforms. 2. The animal. The raw, amoral, untamed self. The one who fantasizes in secret, who writes anonymous erotica, who craves surrender, not in politics but in bed. This is why even the most wholesome woman may harbor fantasies that seem to contradict everything she believes. Because deep inside, she's not craving pain. She's craving freedom from responsibility. In fantasy, she doesn't have to choose, or lead, or explain. The quiet librarian who fantasizes about being dominated isn't broken. She's split. Public self and private hunger. That's what Freud meant by the return of the repressed. Desire doesn't disappear. It hides. And sometimes, it becomes an addiction. We've all seen it. The woman who stays with the man who cheats, who lies, who vanishes for days. She cries, swears she's done, then returns. Why? Because stability is safe, but chaos is intoxicating. Her nervous system becomes addicted not to the man, but to the chemical storm he creates. Cortisol, dopamine, oxytocin. It's not trauma. It's a roller coaster. And your calm presence? It can't compete. You show up on time. You listen. You care. She says, "You're amazing." But inside, she feels nothing. Why? Because you're not threatening enough to wake up the parts of her brain that addiction lives in. This is why so many nice guys lose to chaos. And it leads to Freud's quiet conclusion. Women are not attracted to darkness. They are programmed by it. In evolution, the narcissist led. The Machiavellian was outsmarted. The psychopath survived. Women who resisted these traits didn't pass on their genes. The women who surrendered did. And now, those instincts live on. Modern studies show women rate men high in dark triad traits as more sexually desirable for short-term flings, even when they say they don't like those traits. That's the dissonance Freud spent his life unpacking. The split between what a woman says she wants and what her body selects. It's not that women lie. It's that two truths live inside them. One built for society, one built for survival. There's a moment every man remembers. The first time she looked at him, not with anger, not with sadness, but with nothing. A blankness that felt like being erased. One day, she was warm, vibrant, and invested. The next, mechanical, detached. You thought it was stress, maybe something you did. But Freud would offer a more haunting explanation. You were never dealing with one woman. You were dealing with two. Freud called this psychological split the uncanny, the eerie sense that someone familiar has become a stranger. But he wasn't just describing horror films or dreams. He was describing women. Specifically, the way the female psyche houses two selves, the social woman and the instinctual woman. You've seen them both. One moment, she's kind, nurturing, and affectionate. The next, cold and surgical, saying things that slice through you like they were rehearsed. That's not just mood. That's the conflict between her ego and her id, the conscious image she upholds and the unconscious force she tries to suppress. The tragedy? Most men fall in love with the first woman, then spend the rest of the relationship being punished by the second. And here's where it gets darker. The more you love her, the more fully you accept her contradictions, her past, her shadows, the more unbearable it becomes for her. Why? Because if you see her completely, flaws and all, she loses her ability to blame you for her unhappiness. And that is a kind of psychological death. Freud called it the collapse. When a woman can no longer offload her inner conflict onto a man, she turns inward, and often, that means turning against him. Because what do you do when the man in front of you is kind, consistent, committed, but you feel nothing? You invent reasons, you find flaws, you stir drama. Not because he's bad, but because the deeper part of you needs distance to survive. Modern women are taught two conflicting beliefs from birth. You are equal to men. You are better than men. More emotional, more evolved, more moral. Now combine those beliefs with unconscious desires for hierarchy, dominance, and chaos, and you've got a recipe for internal war. She wants to be a queen, but only in the presence of a king. A man too soft? She despises. A man too strong? She fears. But a man who sees through her, both versions of her, and stays unmoved, that's the one she secretly craves, and sometimes tries to destroy. One of Freud's students, Helene Deutsch, was a radical feminist in the 1930s. Brilliant, independent, outspoken. Her essays condemned male power, promoted liberation, and gained her fame. But behind closed doors, she was married to a domineering husband who controlled her every move. He forbade her from publishing, mocked her intellect, and she was happier with him than she'd ever been. In therapy, she wept. "I hate that I need his rules, but when he's firm with me, I feel peace." That's not weakness. That's integration failure. The public self wants equality. The unconscious self wants polarity. And that tension doesn't dissolve with education. It intensifies. This is why the most outwardly empowered women often harbor the most volatile desires. The chaste schoolteacher who secretly writes violent erotica. The activist who craves surrender behind closed doors. The loyal girlfriend who suddenly cheats with someone she barely knows. Not because she's evil, but because her public desire and private desire are opposites. One is for approval, the other is for submission. In the 1950s, the Kinsey report revealed something society still hasn't processed. Over 60% of women reported fantasies involving dominance, surrender, or power imbalance. Not because they wanted abuse, but because in those fantasies, they didn't have to choose. They were taken, freed from responsibility, from the burden of being the good girl. Now consider the modern dating landscape. Women say they want stability, empathy, and kindness. But who do they choose when the moment is raw, unscripted, and emotional? Often, the one who offers none of those things. Freud called this disavowal, the mind's ability to deny what it really wants, while pursuing it in disguise. So she says she wants a nice guy. Then she sleeps with his unpredictable, emotionally detached friend. Not because she changed her mind, because her body overruled her mind. This is the terror she never speaks aloud. If you see the real me, you'll leave. So she hides. She lies, not to hurt you, but to shield herself from her reflection. She tests you not because she wants to lose you, but to see if you can hold her without collapsing. She sabotages healthy relationships, not because she prefers pain, but because chaos feels more real than safety. And when you finally leave, when you say, "I've done everything, and it's not enough," she cries. Not because she lost you, but because now she's alone with the part of herself she spent her whole life avoiding. Freud's most painful insight wasn't that women are manipulative. It's that they're at war with themselves, and men, in loving them, often become the battleground. So, is there any way for a man to win? Maybe, but not by playing the traditional game. Because if you think being kind, open, emotionally available, and endlessly patient is the key, you've already lost. Freud warned, when a man obeys a woman's stated desires, he becomes invisible to her unconscious. You become safe, predictable, boring. A woman doesn't want to explain why she loves you. She wants to feel it. And feelings, Freud knew, aren't born from comfort. They're born from tension, mystery, and polarity. You must become the man who can witness her contradictions without crumbling, who holds frame when she tests, disappears when she punishes, and never chases the part of her that wants to be chased. This is what Freud meant when he hinted at the paradoxical intent. The more you need her, the less she feels desire. The less you pursue, the more her instincts awaken. It's not a trick. It's not manipulation. It's the harsh arithmetic of unconscious biology. You've seen it happen. Maybe it was slow or maybe it was overnight. But one day she just stopped trying, stopped texting back, stopped reaching out. She said she still cared, but her eyes didn't. And when you asked why, she gave you nothing. I don't know. Or worse, I need to find myself. And you? You were left trying to fix something that was never broken, just done. Freud warned us, this wasn't just heartbreak. This was biology. And once you understand that, everything changes. Because women don't fall in love with men, they fall in love with feelings, with states of being, with the emotional weather you bring into their lives. And the moment that the weather changes, even if you did nothing wrong, her instincts pull away. Modern men are taught the opposite. Open up. Be emotionally available. Show her your vulnerability. But what if doing that kills attraction? One of Freud's patients, a man in his 40s, came to him devastated. His wife had grown cold. He did everything right. He signed up for couples therapy, planned romantic date nights, asked her what she needed, and delivered. And when she finally left him, it was for a musician who didn't answer her texts, didn't plan anything, didn't even seem to care. Freud's diagnosis was cruel, but true. You killed her desire by obeying it. Here's the lesson. A woman's stated desires and her instinctual triggers are not the same thing. When you obey her words at face value, you become less of a man in her unconscious. You become compliant, predictable, safe, but not compelling. So what did Freud propose as the antidote? He never published a formal manual, but in his letters and case notes, a pattern emerges, a strategy, a way to survive and even thrive, not by controlling women, but by refusing to be controlled by their unconscious scripts. Let's break it down. Rule 1. The law of paradoxical intent. The more you need her, the less she wants you. This isn't about being aloof. It's about presence without dependency. When you lean in too far, her instincts pull back. Neediness smells like decay to the female psyche. It signals low status, weak genes, and emotional instability. So what's the solution? Withdraw first. Not to punish, but to reset polarity. Let her feel the absence before she creates it. When you stop pursuing, her unconscious wonders, why isn't he chasing me? And suddenly she's drawn in, not to you, but to the mystery you represent. Rule 2. The power of the unsaid. Freud understood that women don't crave explanations. They crave tension. The moment you start justifying yourself, over-explaining your feelings, or begging for clarity, you shrink in her mind. You become solvable. And what's solvable isn't sexy. You want to become a riddle she never fully answers. Say less, do less. Let silence speak. Casanova never explained. Napoleon never apologized. And women crossed oceans for them. Mystery is not manipulation. It's containment. It creates space for her projections, space for her to feel. Rule 3. The shadow self strategy. Every woman has a darkness she hides, a part of her that doesn't match the image she presents to the world. The woman who talks about self-love might secretly crave domination. The one who champions feminism might surrender to a man who never once asks for permission. You cannot destroy this shadow, but you can recognize it without fear. That means when she tests you, you don't panic. When she lies, you don't overreact. When she tries to hurt you, you don't retaliate. You smile. You stay grounded. You let her feel her power bounce off your unmoved presence. And that's what changes her, because the one thing a woman truly desires, but seldom finds, is a man who sees through her without flinching, who doesn't need to fix her, who simply knows. That's what Freud meant when he said, words are masks. When a woman says, let's talk, she doesn't mean let's reason. She means, let's see if you can handle my chaos without crumbling. If you meet her chaos with your chaos, you both drown. If you meet it with calm, you become her gravity. But let's be clear, this is not a game. This is not about manipulating women into liking you. It's about surviving a psychological system that was never built with your happiness in mind. Freud never promised love would be fair. He called the belief that the right woman will love you for who you are childish, wishful thinking. Reality, he warned, doesn't reward honesty. It rewards understanding. You want proof? Look around. The poet who wrote her sonnets gave her his heart and watched her leave with a stranger. The husband who worked double shifts while she entertained another man. The good guy who waited years, only to be replaced overnight. These aren't exceptions. They're the pattern. Because feelings, especially female feelings, are volatile. And trying to stabilize them with logic is like trying to tame a storm with kindness. You must become the eye of the storm, not shaken, not swayed. Men today are taught that love is a transaction, that if you give more, feel more, and express more, you'll earn more. But that's not how her unconscious works. Her instincts respond not to volume, but to vibration. Your energy, your stillness, your refusal to be consumed. That's the forbidden solution Freud hinted at. Stop trying to make her understand you. Start making her feel you, through absence, through power, through restraint. Stop trying to play her game. Start playing yours. You are not here to chase love. You are not here to decode mixed signals. You are not here to fix her contradictions. You are here to master yourself. Let her chaos come. Let her mood swing. Let her test. And when she finally realizes that nothing she does can shake you, that's when she'll fall. Not for what you gave her, but for what you didn't need from her. This is the last truth Freud never wrote down, but lived by. The only way to win with women is to stop trying to win them. Let her come to you. Let her reveal herself. And when she does, look her in the eyes and do nothing. Because the moment you can love her shadow and never bow to it, you've already won. And remember, the game ends the day you choose to see clearly.